The slap that changed everything. The slap echoed through the grand ballroom like a gunshot. My glasses flew off my face, skittering across the polished marble floor of the Chicago Hilton's Crystal Ballroom as 150 guests froze in stunned silence. My cheeks stung like fire, but the ache in my heart was 1,000 times worse. My daughter-in-law Madison had just slapped me on her own wedding day because I wouldn't hand over the keys to my downtown condo. "That's what you get for being so damn selfish," she hissed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "A woman your age doesn't need all that space in the city. We're starting our lives. Me and your son need it more." The room went dead quiet. No one moved to help me as I knelt down, hands shaking, picking up the shattered pieces of my glasses. Some guests averted their eyes. Others whispered behind their champagne flutes. But not one person, not a single cousin, friend, or family member stood up for the poor old mother-in-law who'd just been publicly humiliated my son. Ryan stood there like a statue, staring at the floor. He couldn't even look at me. "You're not welcome here anymore," Madison continued, smoothing her $15,000 Vera Wang gown like nothing had happened. "Ryan and I need privacy to build our future. Your condo would be perfect while we save for a house in the suburbs." Her words were venom. For months, I'd endured her snide remarks about my thrift store outfits, my 12-year-old Honda Civic, my simple life. But this crossed every line. I stood up slowly, tears streaming down my face, every eye in the room burning into me. Something inside me snapped, not broke, snapped clean. That slap wasn't just physical. It was the last straw. I'd spent decades keeping a low profile, living humbly by choice. No one, not even Rian, knew my secrets. My name is Evelyn Thompson. I'm 69 years old. I work part-time at a little flower shop in Lincoln Park. I drive an old car. I shop at TJ Maxx and Costco. To the world, and especially to Madison, was just a widowed retiree scraping by on Social Security and a small pension. But that was the image I'd carefully built for over 30 years. What no one in that ballroom knew was that my late husband, William, hadn't been the mid-level accountant everyone thought. We'd chosen modesty to protect our privacy, and it turned out to be the smartest decision we ever made. As I walked toward the exit, whispers followed me like smoke. Poor Evelyn. She looked so frail. The bride's right, an old lady alone in a big condo. It's not safe. Should downsize to assisted living. Each word stung worse than the slap. The air conditioning blasted cold against my burning face as I fumbled for my phone. In my worn leather Persa bag I'd carried for years because I valued function over fashion. Something Madison would never understand. I dialed a number I hadn't used in over a year. One I'd hoped I'd never need again. "David, it's Evelyn. Come to the Hilton Crystal Ballroom right now. Bring the files, the ones we discussed. It's time." My voice shook, but there was steel in it. "Are you sure, Mrs. Thompson?" David, my longtime financial advisor, asked carefully. "Never been more sure." 30 minutes. I hung up and headed to the parking garage. For the first time in decades, I was dropping the mask. They were about to meet the real Evelyn Thompson, and regret would hit them like a freight train. Sitting in my old Civic under the fluorescent lights. Memories flooded back. It started 3 years ago when Ryan brought Madison home. Meet someone special, he'd said with that boyish grin I loved. She'd walked into my modest 2-bedroom condo in the Gold Coast. Her designer bag swinging, eyes scanning everything with barely hidden disappointment. "Quaint," she'd said, her tone dripping sarcasm. From that first visit, every interaction was torture. Comments about my dated furniture, my tiny kitchen. Then the suggestions started. "Evelyn, you should think about a smaller place," she'd say with a fake smile. "At your age, maintaining a condo this size must be exhausting. Ryan and I are talking kids soon. We'll need more room." Ryan, completely smitten, echoed her like a script. I'd bite my tongue, remembering William's words, "Visible wealth attracts vultures." But Madison wasn't just a vulture. She was calculated one day. I overheard her on the phone in my guest bathroom. "Yeah, Mom, his mom's place is prime real estate reviews. Walking distance to everything. If we play it right, she'll downsize and we can move in till we buy in Naperville." I pretended not to hear, but from then on, it was a chess game. She played concerned daughter-in-law. I played the naive widow. The pressure escalated. Brochures for 55 communities appeared on my coffee table. Just options, Evelyn, for your safety. Then the direct demands: "You're being selfish, holding on to that condo when we need it." Ryan started repeating her lines. My sweet boy, the one I'd raised alone after William's death, was turning into someone I didn't recognize. I hired a private investigator through David. What I learned shattered me. Ryan and Madison were drowning in debt. $150,000 in credit cards. Student loans, a leased BMW they couldn't afford. Their wedding cost $80,000, all on loans. Their rented apartment in River North was 2 months behind. My condo wasn't just convenient. It was their lifeline. Worse, Ryan had been calling banks, asking about reverse mortgages on elderly parents' property. And guardianship laws. My own son was planning to take everything. 3 days before the wedding. Madison cornered me. "Evelyn, we've sacrificed so much. The least you can do is help with housing." That night, I called David. "Prepare the documents. It might be time." Now, waiting in the garage, I knew the moment had come. 25 minutes later, headlights flashed. David arrived with a leather briefcase. We walked back into the ballroom together. The music stopped. 150 heads turned. Madison spotted me first. "What the hell are you doing back here? Wasn't one scene enough?" "Everyone," David announced calmly. "I'm here on urgent legal matters for Mr. Ryan Thompson and Mrs. Madison Thompson." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Many recognized David. He managed wealth for half of Chicago's old money. Ryan approached, pale. "Mom, what's going on?" "Ryan," I said firmly, "David is my advisor. He's here to deliver documents you'll find enlightening." David began the monthly transfers of $5,000 Mrs. Thompson has made to your accounts for rent. Car payments, credit cards are terminated effective immediately. Ryan's face drained of color. "Transfers. You've been." "For 4 years, I confirmed, thinking I was helping you through tough times. Instead, I enabled your lies." Madison shrieked. "Impossible. She lives like a pauper thrift store's old car, flower shop job." "Also," David continued, "the guarantee for this venue $80,000 total is withdrawn. Management will require payment tonight." Chaos erupted. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Phones came out, people sensing viral drama. Ryan whispered, "Mom, you've been paying for everything." "The wedding." "Everything," I said. "Your lifestyle, your debts, this party, all from the woman you just humiliated." Madison collapsed into tears. "This is a lie. She's poor. Appearances deceive," I replied. "William and I chose simplicity to avoid exactly this greed, disguised as family." David revealed more. Bank statements showing $6.2 million in investments. Commercial properties downtown renting for $60,000 a month. A lake house in Wisconsin. Total transfers to Ryan over 4 years. $240,000. The ballroom buzzed. TikTok live streams started. Ryan begged, "Mom, please fix this." The guests. "You fix it," I said. "You broke this when you chose greed over respect. When you let her slap me and said nothing." I amended my will on the spot, everything to charities protecting seniors from abuse. We left as management demanded payment. Madison sobbed. Ryan stared in horror. 3 days later. Peace returned to my condo. Ryan called 42 times. Jan Gurr turning to please. They were evicted. The venue sued. Creditors closed accounts. They moved in with Madison's parents in the suburbs. Videos from the wedding went viral to 10 million views on TikTok. Comments overwhelmingly supported me. Queen stood up for herself. Elder abuse exposed. Madison tried spreading rumors I was senile, but public opinion crushed it. 6 months later, I was on national TV, Good Morning America, telling my story. Ryan and Madison filed for guardianship, claiming I was incompetent. The case collapsed when my evidence DEC's recordings, PI reports proved their conspiracy. They lost everything. Ryan lost his job. Madison's influencer side hustle tanked. I founded the Evelyn Foundation for Elder Protection. We've helped over 500 seniors reclaim assets, set boundaries, and rebuild dignity. 2 years later, at 71, my life is fuller than ever. The foundation has 3 offices. My book, When Kindness Becomes Weakness, is a bestseller. Royalties fund our work. Ryan contacted me 3 times, always asking for money, never apologizing. His son, my grandson Liam, was born last year. Madison left Ryan, taking the baby. I set up a college trust for Liam, accessible at 18. I miss the son I raised, not the man greed created, but I've learned. Protecting someone from consequences can destroy them. True family chooses respect, and it's never too late to demand yours. My condolences, coveted is now my sanctuary. I mentor women facing similar betrayal. I speak at conferences. I garden on my balcony. Peace isn't the absence of pain. It's knowing you finally valued yourself enough to walk away from those who didn't. The Slap That Changed Everything, Part 2, Rebirth 2. Years have passed since that night in the Crystal Ballroom. The night my world cracked open and finally stepped through the fracture into something stronger. I'm 71 now, sitting on same balcony overlooking the Chicago River where I used to water my geraniums in silence, wondering if I was the problem. The view hasn't changed, but everything else has. My phone buzzes every morning at 8:15 sharp. It's Sarah, the executive director of the Evelyn Foundation for Elder Protection, the organization. I started with the inheritance I had originally earmarked for Ryan. Evelyn, we've got 128 new intakes this week, she says, her voice a mix of exhaustion and fire. Same patterns: adult children pushing parents to sell homes, threatening to withhold grandkids, or quietly moving money out of joint accounts. Every file feels like looking at my old self in a mirror. There was the 73-year-old retired teacher from Evanston whose son forged her signature on a home equity loan. The 70-year-old veteran from the South Side, whose daughter convinced him to add her name to his bank accounts for emergencies, then drained them for a down payment on a condo in Miami. We've helped over 600 seniors in 2 years, recovered more than $4.8 million in stolen or coerced assets, blocked dozens of fraudulent guardianships, and trained hundreds of bank tellers and adult protective services workers to spot the red flags. My neighbor, Tom, 78, retired firefighter, and now the foundation's volunteer outreach coordinator, drops by every morning with coffee from the corner cafe. He still calls that wedding night the night Evelyn finally roared. Never thought my retirement would involve testifying in court against greedy kids, he chuckled last week. But damn if it isn't the most meaningful thing I've ever done. My niece, Emily Rianskausen, the one person in the family who never bought into Madison's act movidento, the guest room 18. Months ago, after her own divorce. She runs our education program now. Workshops, online courses, TikTok videos that have racked up hundreds of millions of views. You taught me blood doesn't automatically equal family, she says over dinner most nights. Respect does. The book came out last year, When Kindness Becomes Weakness. One woman's fight against AG. One woman's fight against family financial abuse. It hit the New York Times bestseller list for 14 weeks. Every royalty check goes straight to the foundation. Readers send letters by the hundred, some handwritten on stationery that smells like lavender. Others frantic emails at 2 a.m. They all say versions of the same thing. I thought I was alone. Thank you for giving me the courage to say no. David still handles my finances, but now he also oversees the foundation's endowment. We've clawed back more than $5 million from abusive heirs, he told me at our last board meeting. And we're just getting started. People always ask Thee some painful question in interviews, podcasts, and quiet conversations over tea. Do I miss Ryan? Do I regret what I did? The honest answer is layered. I miss the little boy Wo used to fall asleep on my shoulder during Cubs games. I miss the Tina Guro mode neighbors. Lawns to buy me flowers on Mother's Day. I miss the young man who called me from college just to say he loved me. But I do not miss the man who stood silent while his wife slapped me. I do not miss the son who spent years plotting to take my home. I do not miss the version of Ryan who saw me, a son. ATM with an expiration date. He reached out exactly 3 times in 2 years. First, 6 months after a Good Morning America interview, when coworkers started treating him differently. His voicemail was angry. Mom, you're ruining my reputation. Second, when his son, my grandson Noah, was born 15 months ago, Madison sent photos with a message. Your grandson deserves better than growing up poor because of your pride. No apology. Just guilt. Third, 4 months ago, after Madison filed for divorce and moved to Florida with Noah and most off their furniture, Ryan's voice was broken. Mom, I'm drowning. I lost my job. The debts are crushing me. Noah barely knows me. Can you help just alone? I listened to the hello message twice. Then I replied with a text I'd rehearsed in my head for years. Ryan, when you're Redido, take full responsibility, no excuses, no blame. No demands when you can look in the eye and apologize for the years of manipulation. The conspiracy to take my home and for standing by while I was assaulted on your wedding day. Then we can talk about rebuilding something real. Until then, I wish you the strength to face the consequences you spent years avoiding. I love the boy you were. I'm still waiting to meet the man you could become. He never replied. Noah is 16 months old now. I've never held him. Madison blocked me on everything and moved 3 states away. But I created an irrevocable trust for his education managed by David. Accessible only when Noah turns 18. No matter what stories he's been told about me, Emily says. One day he'll be old enough to Google his grandmother. He'll find the videos, the book, the foundation. He'll see the truth for himself. Maybe. I hope so. The biggest surprise of these 2 years has been my own transformation. The chronic anxiety that kept me awake for years. Gone. The headaches that felt like a constant vice. Vanished. My doctor actually laughed at my last physical. Evelyn, your blood work looks like a woman in her late 50s. Removing toxic stress is better than any medicine I can prescribe. I sold the old Civic and bought a hybrid practical, reliable but new. I still shop sales, but now it's coys, not performance. I no longer work at the flower shop. Pick closed when the owner retired, but I started a community garden. The rooftop of my building. Every Saturday, a dozen seniors gathered to plant herbs, swap stories, and laugh louder than we ever did before. The condo that Madison aunts coveted is now truly mine. Ryan's old room became the foundation, sit-light off walls covered in thank you cards. Photos of reunifications we helped broker. Certificates from the governor for our work. One of the deepest joys has been mentoring other women walking. It's the same path I did. There's Patricia, 75, whose daughter tried to force her into a nursing home to sell her lake house. We blocked the guardianship. Recovered the forged documents, and Patricia now volunteers with us twice a week. She sent me a letter last month. Evelyn, you taught me that saying no to my child wasn't abandoning Juret, was saving myself. You taught me that dignity isn't selfish. You taught it's never too late to choose yourself. Those words live in my heart every single day. Looking back, I understand now that my story doesn't have the Hollywood ending where everyone reconciles over turkey dinner and tears. But it has something far better. Truth, boundaries, and a legacy that protects thousands. If I could go back, taught that humiliated 69-year-old woman, walking out of the ballroom with a stinging cheek and a broken heart, I'd wrap her in a hug and whisper, hold on. The pain is coming, but so is the power. On the other side is a life more authentic, purposeful, and peaceful than you ever dreamed possible. You will turn your deepest wound into your greatest strength. You will save others because you first saved yourself. Tonight, as the Chico twinkles across the river and I finish these reflections, I feel something I hadn't in decades. Deep, unshakable peace. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with Illinois lawmakers about new elder abuse legislation. Next month, we're opening our 4th regional center in Milwaukee. In the spring, the documentarizes based on the foundation launches on a major streaming platform at 71. My life is raker, louder, and more meaningful than it ever was at 61 or 51. For that matter, I've learned that Ndinga toxic relationship isn't loss, it's freedom. I've learned that familia's as much chosen as born. And I've proven beyond any doubts that it is never, ever too late to stand up, speak your truth, and demand the respect you deserve. The slap broke something in me that night. But what grew back was unbreakable. The slap that changed everything. Part 3, A New Legacy 3 years after that fateful wedding night. I'm turning 72 next month, and life has taken turns and ever could have predicted. Even after the Foundation's early success, the Evelyn Thompson Foundation now has 6 regional centers across the Midwest: Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and we've just broken ground on one in Cleveland. We've expanded nationally with partner organizations in California and Florida, helping over 2,500 seniors reclaim their independence. Last year alone, we recovered $18 million in coerced assets, homes sold under pressure, bank accounts drained, reverse mortgages forced through manipulation. The documentary series, Unbreakable: Stories of Elder Resilience, premiered on Netflix last spring and hit the top 10 in its first week. It featured not just my story, but a dozen others who had helped. The widow in Arizona, whose kids tried to declare her incompetent for her $2 million ranch. The Vietnam vet in Texas blackmailed with no grandkids threats. Viewer donations poured in enough to fund free legal clinics in 20 states. My second book, Boundaries After Betrayal: A Guide to Protecting Your Legacy, came out 6 months ago. It's more practical than the first checklists for spotting red flags. Scripts for saying no without guilt. Templates for revocable trust-send powers of attorney that protect against abuse. It's already in its 3rd printing. And AARP named it their top recommendation for financial planning in retirement. Tom passed away last year peacefully, in his sleep at 80. We held his memorial in the community garden he helped me expand. The rooftop now has raised beds, a butterfly sanctuary, and a plaque that reads, "Planted in memory of Tom Riley, firefighter, friend, fighter for justice." His daughter took over his volunteer role, and she says working with us gave her dad purpose in his final years. Emily got married last March to a kind teacher she met through one of our workshops. It was a small backyard ceremony, nothing like Ryan's extravaganza. I walked her down the aisle, and when she said her vows about respect, honesty, and chosen family, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. David retired last year, passing the foundation's finances to a protege he trained, but he still consults pro bono. Evelyn, he told me at his retirement party, "You turned my career from managing money to changing lives." Best decision I ever made was answering that call 3 years ago. The biggest change. Ryan reached out again 6 months ago, not for money this time. He'd hit rock bottom, odd jobs. Living in a studio apartment, therapy mandated after a DUI from stress drinking. Madison had full custody of Noah, and Ryan only got supervised advice. His email was short: "Mom, I finally get it. I was wrong about everything. The manipulation, letting Madison treat you that way, standing silent. I've been in therapy for a year. I don't expect forgiveness or help. I just needed to say I'm sorry, truly." I read it 10 times before replying. We met at a neutral coffee shop in the Loop. He looked older, lines around his eyes, thinner. No excuses about Madison making him do anything. Just ownership. I chose greed over you. I let love blind me to respect. I betrayed the values you and Dad taught me. We talked for 3 hours. Tears from both of us. I didn't forgive everything that day, takes time. But I agreed 2 monthly coffee, no money discussions. It's just rebuilding trust slowly. 2 months ago, he brought Noah for the first time. My grandson is almost 3 now, curly. Hair like Ryan, had big, curious eyes. He called me Gamma Evie after Emily coached him. We played in the garden, and when he hugged me goodbye, something long broken in my heart started healing. Ryan's working steady now as a sales associate at a hardware store. Living within his means. No flashy car, no debt-fueled lifestyle. He volunteers at a local senior center on weekends, helping with minor home repairs for free. Paying it forward. He calls it Madison. She read quickly. To someone with actual money this time. Last I heard through mutual acquaintance, just posting influencer content again, but the comments air brutal, referencing old viral clips. She reached out once asking if I'd help with Noah's future for his sake. I didn't reply. The trust for Noah is still. They're growing steadily. When he's 18, he'll get it directly, along with a letter from me explaining everything, if he wants the full story. These days, my calendar is full. Speaking at senior centers, testifying before Congress on elder abuse RFOs, we got key provisions into the latest federal bill. Mentoring new foundation clients personally. I bought a small cottage up in Door County, Wisconsin, nothing extravagant, just a quiet place for weekends with Emily, her husband, and close friends. The lake house William Andy owned is now a retreat center for abused seniors run by the foundation. They go there to heal. Garden, talk, no pressure, just peace, health-wise. Better Thanavir. I hike 3 miles most mornings along the lakefront trail. My doctor says, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Heart age is 55. If you asked me 3 years ago, on that parking garage floor waiting for David, if I'd ever imagined this life purpose bigger than pain, a chosen family stronger than blood, even cautious reconciliation with my son, I'd have said no. But that's the truth, Eve. Learn deepest. Betrayal can destroy you, or it can forge you into something unbreakable. The SLAP didn't just change my life. It launched a movement. And for the thousands we've helped, and the thousands more will reach, I'm grateful every single day. Thought I finally chose myself. The real wealth wasn't money I kept hidden. Was the strength I found when I stopped hiding. The SLAP that changed everything. Part 4, Full Circle 5. Years have now passed since the night. Everything shattered and rebuilt itself stronger. I turned 74 last month. The celebration wasn't in a grand ballroom, it was on the rooftop garden, with 30 of my closest chosen family, Emily and her husband, their new baby girl, my great-niece, foundation staff, volunteers, and a dozen seniors whose lives we've helped turn around. We grilled burgers, played old jazz records, and watched the sunset paint the Chicago skyline gold. Simple, real, perfect. The Evelyn Thompson Foundation is no longer just mine, it's a national force. We have 12 centers coast to coast, a staff of 180, and partnerships with AARP, the Department of Justice, and even the FBI's Elder Fraud Unit. Last year, we assisted over 8,000 seniors, recovered $62 million in stolen assets, and helped pass federal legislation that closes loopholes abusers use to exploit, stronger penalties for financial exploitation, mandatory bank reporting of suspicious patterns, and free legal aid for guardianship challenges. The Netflix series won an Emmy for Outstanding Documentary. Season 2 is in production, focusing on reconciliation stories, families that healed after abuse, boundaries that severed relationships instead of ending them. My third book, Full Circle, Healing After Family Betrayal, released last fall. It's different from the first two. Less anger, more hope. I share not just my pain, but the slow, Messy journey toward forgiveness without ever sacrificing self-respect. Because something extrendi. It's happened last year. Ryan and I rebuilt it, didn't have mover night. Those monthly coffees turned into weekly lunches, then dinners at my condo. He kept showing up consistent, humble, no expectations. He read my books. He volunteered at the Foundation's Chicago Center, fixing computers and building wheelchair ramps for clients. He listened to survivors' stories without defensiveness. One evening, about 18 months ago, he broke down over pasta I'd made William's old recipe. "Mom, I spent years shading you for ruining my life, when really, you saved it. I was becoming so my own, I despised. If you hadn't cut me off, I'd still be that entitled, debt-chasing liar. The bottom you let me hit was the only thing that woke Moop." I cried too. For the first time in years, I saw my son again, the real one. We started Therapitager, family sessions with a specialist in elder abuse, reconciliation, hard conversations, no shortcuts. Noah, now 4 and a half, started spending weekends with me. He calls me Grandma Evie and loves shelping in the garden. We read books on the balcony, build Lego towers, and Head falls asleep on my shoulder just like Ryan used to. Madison signed off on unsupervised visits after Ryan proved stability in court. She's remarried, living in Arizona, and keeps contact minimal. That's fine. Noah knows he has homes filled with love. Ryan met someone new last year, a social worker who volunteers with us. Her name is Lena. She's kind, grounded, funny. They're taking it slow, talking marriage only after prenups and full financial transparency. I like her. A lot. He's a manager now at a home improvement chain. Owns a modest townhouse in the suburbs bought with his own savings and a legitimate mortgage. And coaches Noah's t-ball team, no debt. No lies, last Christmas. He gave him a framed photo. The three of us, Noah on my lap. Ryan's arm around Miss Holder's staken in the garden. On the back he wrote, "Thank you for loving me now to let me fall. I'm finally the man you always believed I could be." Ryan, I keep it on my nightstand. The foundation board tasked me to step back from day-to-day operations this year. I'm now Cherry Marita, still speaking, still mentoring, but with more time for travel and rest. Emily took over as executive director. At 34, she's brilliant, fierce, and carries the mission in her bones. I spent last summer at Door County Cottage with Noah and Ryan. We fished, made s'mores, told stories about William. Ryan asked questions about his dad he'd never thought toast before. Healing isn't linear, but those moments felt like grace. Do I wish the slap had never happened? That none of the pain had been necessary? Some days, in quietments, yes. I wish my son had chosen respect sooner. I wish I hadn't had Talos years with him to find this version of us, but I also know this truth. Without that breaking point, we might never have reached this wholeness. The slap didn't just change my life. It saved my sons. It saved countless authors through the foundation. And it taught me the deepest lesson of all. Sometimes the great act of love is refusing to enable destruction. Yours or theirs. Sometimes the bravest thing a parent can do is let natural consequences teach what words never could. And sometimes, if both people do the long, hard work of growth, grace finds a way back in. Today, as I sit on Thieves' balcony where I once waited in a dark parking garage for truth to arrive, I feel only gratitude. The river still flows bellow. The city still sparkles at night. But now, when I look out, I see possibility instead of loss. I see a legacy built not on hidden money, but on courage, boundaries, and redemption. I see a family imperfect, hard-won, real. And I know, without a doubt, that every tear, every battle, every boundary I set was worth it, because on the other side of betrayal isn't just survival, it's a life more beautiful than anything I could have imagined 5 years ago. Full circle isn't about going back to how things were. It's about arriving somewhere entirely new, wiser, freer, and finally, truly whole. The slap broke my heart open. What poured out changed everything. And what grew in its place? Love, real, tested, unbreakable love. Where are you reading from today? Drop a comment below. I read and cherish every one. If this journey inspired you, a super thanks helps me keep sharing stories of triumph and healing. Thank you for being part of this beautiful community. Check out the recommended stories on screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more. See you in the next one with boundless love, light, and celebration of second chances.